Adrien, the problem Broner, is going to have a problem if he can't make weight. He's going to have a problem if he keeps ballooning up between fights. He's going to have a problem unless he can sort his discipline issue out. But if we take that aside, and if we accept that his move to 147 pounds was a failed experiment that won't happen again, I think you've got to be mightily impressed by this guy. Now, the weight is a real issue. I'll touch on that again later on in this, but that is a huge, huge issue, and I don't disagree with that. But this performance against John Molina was superb. Adrien Broner is one of the elite defensive boxers in the sport today. In my opinion, watching him, he represents a uniquely awkward opponent. His jab was very, very good in this fight. It was a real threat. It was fast. It was surprisingly fast, surprisingly snappy, surprisingly accurate. He changed up the levels in the jab. You know, he was throwing it to the body, throwing it to the head. It was a real, like a battering ram in the early rounds. It was so quick. It was so accurate. I've seen Broner's fights all the time, but I was really impressed by his jab. In this fight against John Molina, it was clear that Broner was the superior technician. It was clear that he was the more, skilled fighter. But Broner's had issues with work rate. Broner's had issues with punching output. And a brawler, a swarming fighter like John Molina, the question was he going to bring too much heat, too much pressure, too much all-out aggression? Was he going to throw too many punches? Was he going to look too aggressive? Was it going to overwhelm Adrien Broner? For me, there were two reasons why John Molina's activity was so woefully low. The first was the Broner jab. I'm not saying Adrien Broner is a devastating one-punch knockout artist. He's certainly not got the one-punch knockout power of a Kovalev, a Golovkin, a Klitschko. But this guy is legitimately a hard puncher. I mean, as I say, if we disregard the failed attempt at 147, his KO ratios are reasonably impressive. And to me, that jab just looked like it carried a lot of weight. I think John Molina felt the power of Broner early on. And I think John Molina perhaps didn't want to overly expose himself and fly in throwing haymakers. But I think the other thing that Broner brings to the table, and this is where I talk about his defensive eliteness, is he's just so awkward to fight. For me, Broner, initially, when you first look at Adrien Broner, he looks very, very upright. He looks almost like this, it's almost awkward how upright he is. But then when he stands in front of you, he tends to bend. I often noticed him leaning forward, really narrowing down the angles, and he'll stand at an awkward angle. He's then got the shoulder roll defence, he has this high shoulder. So you've got this guy who's very, very upright, and then when he comes in, he's kind of bending at the waist, leaning forward. At the same time, he's standing at an angle to the side. He's got the shoulder roll. He's positioning his, shoulder in front of his chin. And then he's throwing out this absolute battering ram of a jab. He is a very, very awkward fighter. His accuracy in this fight was also very, very good. His hand speed was, noticeable. It's not flashy in the same way Amir Khan's is, but he looks like he's punching with a heavy, hurtful punch. For me, he outclassed John Molina. He confused John Molina. He schooled John Molina. And it was a superb technical performance. Now, John Molina is no world beater. He's solid, but unspectacular. And he is the kind of guy who can be outskilled by a more technical boxer like Broner. But what are Broner's major issues? The first is his low punching volume. The second, in my opinion, is his weight. For me, Broner was more active in this fight. His jab was more of a constant weapon. And I think if he can keep that up going forward, he's a huge force. And I genuinely find it hard to see multiple fighters at 140 getting the better of him. A lot of people on boxing forums say Provodnikov, Matisse, Garcia, these guys destroy Broner inside a round or two. He won't be able to live with their power. He got beaten up by Maidana. But let's not forget in that Maidana fight, he showed a lot of heart and he showed a strong chin. You know, a much bigger man in Maidana floored him several times, but he got up, he went the distance, he showed durability, heart, toughness. At 140, where he carries more power, I believe, where he's not noticeably outsized, I believe, I think this guy is a real force to be reckoned with. And in my opinion, I'm going to say it, I know it will get jibes. In my opinion, I take him to beat every fighter at 140 pounds. I really do. The only issue with Adrien Broner, in my opinion, is his discipline outside the ring. Apparently he was weighing in at 177 pounds, which is cruiserweight, ahead of this fight. He missed the 140 pound agreed limit for this. He's missed weight before. For me, Adrien Broner will not be a successful welterweight. He's not big enough, he's not strong enough, he loses his advantage in power at that weight. Against the big guys at 147, the Sean Porters, the Kell Brooks, the Keith Furmans, I don't see him as elite. But if he can sort his discipline out, if he can come in on weight at 140 pounds, if he can keep his punch output high, working behind that lovely jab, and if he can keep his defence as tight as I believe it to be currently, I really do view him as the man to beat at 140 pounds. Lucas Matisse, Ruslan Provodnikov, yes, they are massive punchers. Yes, they can always win by knockout. But these guys aren't elite technicians like Adrien Broner. Danny Garcia, he deserves to be number one ranked at 140 pounds. But I still have nagging doubts about Garcia based on the success Amir Khan was having in the first couple of rounds of their fight. I think Garcia can be outboxed by a superior technician. And I think as superior technicians go, there aren't too many better out there than Adrien Broner. That awkwardness, that jab, that defence really is elite for me. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. How did you rate Broner's performance in this fight? Thanks very much for watching.